I am proud of a country that has a safety net that has been as reinforced as the one that has been reinforced by this Prime Minister. I am proud of that country. But there is an obvious question here, which is at some point it's going to have to be paid for. But also, is there a permanent change in politics going on here where essentially Team Red are the ones who hand out the money and are all full of compassion, and apparently Team Blue are the hard-hearted bastards that'll let you swing? But clearly that's changing at the moment because, well, it is a government-induced shutdown because of this health situation from China, and pretty obvious that they've stepped up to the mark. I support the stuff that's there. But Greg Sheridan had an interesting piece in The Australian where he was talking about whether we've seen a whole new way that centre-right governments will work in the next little while, where basically they're going to start to add compassion and social welfare programs on top of all of their usual shopping list of issues. And then there's the overall question too about, at some point, how do we start to pay for this? It was amazing that one of the people who fought hardest against the credits that were being offered at being fought over by Bill Shorten at the election, well, is now suggesting that maybe that is something that needs to change in the future because how else are we going to pay for it? Michael, this is the question that is happening in, well, I don't know if we don't have lunches anymore, so I don't know whether these are happening on texts around the country. But we all want that safety net. We all approve of that safety net, but we all understand at some point that safety net has to be paid for. Do you want to engage with that, or do you want to engage with the centre-right politics now means compassion and daddy government?
Well, it's going to be a long time, Paul, before we pay off this debt. There are going to have to be other changes to the tax laws. I don't agree with Jeff Wilson, who's a good man otherwise, but no. What about we start looking at companies like Atlassian, who've got $1 billion worth of revenue in this country and pay no tax? Now, we know the tax system works on the basis that you pay tax from your profits, but Atlassian has $1 billion worth of revenue in Australia and doesn't make a profit, please. And this is just not that Cannon Brooks, these people lecturing us all day long from their $1 million lodges in Sydney about how our society, from their Harbourside mansions, how our society should run. There are plenty of companies
bashing the rich.
Of course, hockey was onto this, Frydenberg's onto this whole notion of transfer pricing. There's a long way to go, Paul, in relation to taxing companies who make massive revenues here and through various nefarious means find a way not to pay tax in Australia. I'm not referring to Atlassian being nefarious, of course, because they abide by all international tax laws and through tax havens and other mechanisms. But there must be a way that companies can't continue to make huge revenues here and no profits. The second point I make about Greg Sheridan's article, great article by Sheridan as usual, another cracker of a piece. One of the things this does is show the country that in a great crisis, i.e. at any time, governments can move incredibly quickly. And this brings into the whole focus. He mentioned the Adani approval yesterday. In 7 days, Morrison and Frydenberg and the Cabinet approved a $130 billion expenditure, the biggest ever. It took 8 years for Adani to get a mining licence. It takes years for builders and developers to get planning permits from councils. And there are a myriad of examples where the process of approvals in Australia is suffocating business. If Scott can make such momentous decisions so quickly, this should be able to translate going forward, where part of the new centre-right narrative is how do we speed up dramatically the system of government we have in this country, where so many people rely on licences, approvals, permits, etc. How do we dramatically shortcut this approvals process to get this economy firing like no economy in the world?